Welcome back to the Wealth Builder podcast. I'm your host, Nick Donato, financial advisor at Guidance Financial. Buying a home today feels harder than ever. Interest rates have risen again, cost of living pressures continue to bite, and housing availability is constantly in the spotlight, whether it's politicians talking about it or if it's in the media. So, whether you're a first home buyer looking to upsize or downsize, or you're a seasoned property investor, today's episode is for you. We're unpacking how a property advocate can help, giving you insights into the strategies they use, the due diligence they perform, and how they negotiate, so you can make a more confident decision and move closer to your property goals. So today I'm joined by Mel Dennis from Domain & Co, who works a lot in the property space. So thanks for joining me today, Mel.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on board, Nick.
All good, all good. Um, so did you want to tell us a bit about yourself and what you do to begin
Yeah,
with?
absolutely. I'm one of the few buyers advocates, I think, in Australia that's been around for as long as we have. And I'm given I don't look as old as that, perhaps, or I hope that I don't. But working in the Melbourne property space with Domain & Co for the last 26 years this year, which is phenomenal. A lot of people think buyers advocates have really exploded into the market in the last sort of 10 years, 15 years. But certainly 26 years ago, we were doing a lot of explaining of what a buyer's agent does. But since then, our business has just got busier and busier with the education and confidence that we're able to supply to buyers out there in the market.
So you would have seen some good stories out there and helped out a fair few clients in your time. And I am gonna ask you I guess the question that you've probably answered a million times before. What does a buyer's agent do?
Essentially, we give confidence to buyers of property in buying the right property in the right area for the right price and help them just cut through all of that sale noise from sale agents. And also just giving them the confidence that, they are buying the right property. A big factor of it too, if someone engage a buyer's advocate for the full service, is that we take a lot of time out from their weekends looking at properties for sale. It's a full-time job, finding a new property to buy, whether that be an investment or a own home. You're out in the market every weekend, hunting, looking at properties that are, good, bad, and ugly, and we cut through all of that for our clients.
So lots of weekend work
Yes.
out there at all the auctions and putting your hand up for your clients and whatnot.
If you don't want to work on the weekend, you certainly can't be a buyer's agent.
Love it. Cool. And who do you help? Is it the first home buyers,
Our business,
downsizers?
yeah, our business is great because it's a family-run business, and my husband and I are running that, and we both have very different levels of expertise. Warwick is fantastic with investors and numbers and development opportunities and so forth. I'm really great with own homes, first home buyers. So no matter what someone's looking for, we specialize in residential property. Certainly, we can help them achieve their goals in whatever residential property purchase they want to do. If we can't help them, if it's an area that we're not in, or for a bigger commercial purchase, we will refer them to another fantastic buyer's agent we know through our networks.
Love it. Love it. And just so we're all aware, how like do you send an invoice once you buy a house for someone? How does someone, if someone was interested in your services, how do they have to budget that in to their purchase
Yeah.
price?
Look, to engage a buyer's advocate, you generally need to pay a startup fee. So that basically starts the file and gets the buyer's agent working for you. It depends on the service level that somebody wants with us. Ours is very tailored to what our clients are looking for. So if someone wants to go out and do that property hunt every weekend and evenings, then and they enjoy doing that, but just want the confidence that they're going to be paying the right or buying the right property, they can send us a property that they've shortlisted and we will do the due diligence for them and take it through to negotiation if that's what they want. So the level of service can be, from minimal right through to doing everything for them. Depending on the service level that they choose, will depend on what obviously the fee structure is.
Yeah, love it, love it. So if someone does take up your full service, Mel, where do we start? Is it seeing what their goals are, setting a budget? How do we work from there?
Absolutely. So the very first start is for us catching up with them. That can be a phone call, it can be a Zoom meeting like we're doing now, it could be on Teams, whatever is easiest for them, a face-to-face catch up. So we can go over what they're looking for. Everyone's goals are different. They could be looking for an investment opportunity. So we would generally chat with them about where we see good investments being compared to what their budget is. Most times people have seen somebody to already find out what their borrowing capacity is. But certainly if they haven't, we can help them get in touch with you, Nick, and work out, how much money that they are able to borrow. That's a key thing that you need to know before you can really get out and hunt for a property. That's going to really lock down the area and the type of property that you're able to buy. And then we're talking to them about what their goals are, what type of property that they want to buy. They may have some idea around it if it's an investment. They will definitely have an idea around it if it's for their own home. We talk to them about what their plans are for the future. Are they a young couple just getting married, potentially going to have kids in the future? That's going to really help us plan for them what's going to be the best property for them to buy for the longer term growth.
Yeah, cool. So I understand it's all individualized because someone might be happy with a townhouse, someone wants something with a bit of a backyard if we're living in it, so to speak. And obviously budget is a big one. Cash flow, how much we can afford to spend each month on our mortgage or on
Absolutely.
our house is
Yes.
always a big conversation to have with everyone, first home buyers especially, because
Yeah,
you've never experienced or potentially never experienced a
absolutely.
loan before.
And we see, first home buyers is a great one to touch on because for them, buying a property that has growth potential is so important. This is their stepping stone into the property market. If they buy a property now that doesn't grow in value, and in 5 to 10 years' time, they meet someone, they get married, they want to then move in together, so they need something bigger. If they haven't bought something that has grown with the market, they're in no better off position than had they just either stayed at home or paid some rent.
Mhm. Yeah, and if does your methodology, your strategy change if it's a first home buyer buying for them to live in or someone to, own occupied compared to an investment property that someone's after?
Yeah, look, it definitely does. And that generally comes down to people's goals, what they will live in. An investor might be happy to buy something that is definitely livable and meets minimum standards as far as the Melbourne market is concerned. But it might not be something that someone else is happy to live in as their own home. So they
Hmm.
might, someone might not want something that they've got to do work to. Someone might want something that's a fixer-upper because they've got the capability to do that themselves as a tradie, or, they have mates that are tradies.
Hmm. And as we were talking about before, it always seems like you've got little renovation projects around houses, if something maintenance and the like. Um, but yeah, where do you start to search? If you were to give a tip to someone, how do you start looking for a house?
Yeah, look, we generally will start by looking on realestate.com is one of
Hmm.
the major websites, or domain.com, and finding out if their budget's really going to match the type of house that they want in the area that they want. So, those three things is budget, type of house, and location are the three major things that all have to match up.
Hmm.
If it doesn't, it's generally budget that won't match the location and the type of home that somebody wants. Then we've got to start having a look and suggesting some other areas that might be, not ideal, but okay for what their budget can suit.
Hmm. A bit of a compromise to, we can't have all three. We need a compromise on one, but then which one are we choosing to compromise on, whether it's budget or location
Yeah,
or
and we can
type?
save someone months in the market looking for their ideal property. They don't know, the values, and so they're going to have a look at a property that feels like an agent's always underquoting. Just to be in that market space for months and months on end is a little bit soul destroying, actually, if you're not sure what you're doing out there. So we're just really helping people keep their souls.
It can definitely get frustrating if we go to auctions and expect it to go for one
Mm.
price and then you're always outbid at the last
I
second.
know.
So yeah.
Look, and things always happen. We had some clients, we were looking for a property out west of Melbourne, and it was for their first home, and it was all very exciting. And then halfway through the brief, they found out they were pregnant and then decided to move to the other side of Melbourne to be close to parents. So the brief totally changed, but that's okay. We can pivot and work, in best to what the client's needs are.
It's complete north to, I mean, west to
It
east.
was west to south, and it was and a complete change because you're crossing over the West Gate in Melbourne, and but they just needed to be close to parents at that stage of their life. And
Yeah.
realistically, looking back on that, it probably it's going to happen in the future anyway. If they're planning
Mm,
to be together and have children, being close to parents should have been probably where we're looking to start with.
yeah. So future proof yourself. We're not, well, if it's a if it's a home to buy in, we're not buying for just today if we plan to be there for a while. So future proof it in build it into your goals and into your long-term strategy.
Absolutely.
The next thing to touch on would be due diligence.
Yes.
Um,
Bit of a
it's
mouthful.
it is, there's a bit involved in it. So, is it just building inspections, pest inspections? What's due diligence even mean?
Well, it really does depend on the property. We obviously go and have a look at the property, and we will see every property that we recommend to a client to buy. There's a lot of advocates out there these days, and the market certainly has exploded with a lot of advocates that don't have good experience. They think that getting a video from the sale agent is a good idea, but the sale agent's never going to show you good due diligence in a video. um, we want to go and have a look at the property first. And so we can identify, because we've been in the property market for such a long time, we know what to identify. The building inspector is a backup into spaces we can't see. So they
Hmm.
get into the roof space. Our building inspector that we use as a priority has a drone, so that goes over the rooftop so you can see all the gutters. They've picked up things like a firewall not being between two properties that can really affect your building insurance. Probably wouldn't insure you
Hmm.
if you had a fire. And not to say you can actually just jump from one property to the other. Not one other building inspector picked that up on this auction we were bidding at. So, and it wasn't a reason to not buy the property, but it was a reason to be aware of. We need to now spend 13 to 15,000 putting this extra wall in when we buy the property to make it safe. So the building and pest inspection definitely is well worth it. We do a
Hmm.
lot of market analysis. So we have an in-house built software program that analyzes the properties based on land content, proximity to transport, capital growth history, and so forth. So that really gives us a great indication of the property's value. And we're also looking at the past value to predict the future growth. So
Hmm.
if your past growth hasn't been that much, typically your future growth isn't going to be that much either. So we're really analysing all of that for our clients, again, depending on their reason of purchasing. We also have other paid subscription programs that detect any risk associated with flood, bushfire, heritage overlay, easements, and those sort of things, just to make sure our clients are going into the property with their eyes wide open.
Hmm.
Ultimately, due diligence is about what could go wrong, what might limit future growth, what will impact a resale value, what's hidden that the buyers won't see. So the due diligence is as you said, it's there not just to protect today, but to protect the next 5 to 15 years that someone might be in that home.
Yep, cool. So it's more than just my old man going into houses, knocking on the walls to see if everything's still there and there's
Yeah,
nothing that
I
goes
think
through.
so. Yeah. Oh, look, a big thing that our inspector does is he has a moisture detector, and
Mm,
you could just put your handprint on the wall, and it will pick up the handprint on the wall. So it's really seeing if you've got leaks behind tiles. A lot of properties have issues around waterproofing behind tiles, and if tiles
hmm
have been on a wall for a long time, most people don't maintain them. Like they really should be regrouted and recorked every 4 to 5 years, but most people don't do that. And so the water just finds its natural way in behind them, and that can cause rot behind the tiles. That's okay if you're going to refurb the bathroom, but if you're not planning to do that in the next 5 years and the tiles are going to start falling off, it wouldn't be ideal to find that out down the track.
hmm And then above that, as you said, it's around the financial indicators or the financial due diligence which is something that, when I think of due diligence, it's around building structure and all that, even though that's definitely not my area. But it's also that second overlay that you guys do with the financial area, diligent due diligence and all of that.
Exactly.
So does that build into your negotiation tools or your negotiation when it comes to purchasing if
Yeah.
there is, as you said, you've got 15 grand that you need to spend
Mm.
to do that new firewall or whatever it is? Does that play into your
It
negotiation
can.
tactics?
It depends on how the competition is going for the property and if you're bidding at auction or not.
Hmm
For that particular property, we were bidding at auction. We made the agent aware of it, and because the agent and owner was then aware of it, they needed to publicise it to the people at the auction,
hmm
and they made everyone aware, not just with their spiel at the start of the auction, but they
hmm
also made everyone aware that a new clause had been added to the contract around it. So it was good, for us to make everyone aware of it, I suppose, because then that could have limited our competition as well, because we had the time to really research it. If we see a property that has any major defects that we're happy to take on board, knowing what it's going to be to fix it, we might say to the agent, we're going to offer this, and it's based around, the firewall being built again, or built from the start. So
hmm
our offer is going to be $15,000 less. Another property we were looking to buy for a client had some water ingress happening into the garage from the neighbour's garden, and we said if that's going to be fixed, we would put an offer in to buy the property, and they said that's fine, we'll do that. They were going to fix it, but then when they told us how they were going to fix it, it wasn't up to standard of what we thought would be a long-term fix, and so we decided to walk away from that sale.
hmm And then just on negotiations and purchasing a property, you know, there's lots of different negotiation tactics, bidding tactics and the like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk around, you want to buy the house before it goes to auction and put
Mm.
in a bid rather than fight against three other bidders at the auction. Do you want to
Mm.
give us a bit of an insight
Yeah.
into some of your tactics
Auctions
there?
obviously pretty massive across Australia now. I think Melbourne was the auction capital there for a while, so we've been doing auctions for a lot of years.
hmm
Look, if you're going to negotiate something before auction, you're going to have to offer above what they're asking. Like their price guide is generally lower than what the owner will want.
hmm
So you can generally add 10% plus, depending on how popular the property is going to be, to a price guide. Sometimes not. Sometimes the owner's reserve does fall within the price guide. The price guide is a price guide based on comparable sales. Some agents are good at giving you comparable sales that are actually comparable, and some are terrible. It also happens in areas. The agents have a famous quote of quote it low and watch it go, quote it high and watch it die. So you've really got to just know what the value of the property is and your walk away price before you even start a negotiation. If you're going to, as I said, put an offer in prior to an auction, it is going to have to be something that you talk to the agent about and see if that's something that they will accept. A lot of people in Melbourne aren't accepting any offers
hmm
prior to auction now, because if you do offer prior to auction, and I'm talking about in a written contract, the agent has to alter their quote range, and they may not want to do that for some reason.
Hmm.
Once the quote range is altered, it can cut a lot of people out of the market, and then you won't have many people come to the auction, and you might not have a very successful auction. So again, it depends on what the auctioneer's strategies are to whether they will accept an offer prior to auction or not. Um, Negotiation, buying a home is a very emotional process, and particularly when it's your own home, particularly when it's a first home buyer. Removing that emotion is very important when you're negotiating. And there's no point getting the agent offside. Like I've seen people go in and negotiate with agents and be smart Alex, I suppose, for a nice word. We'll keep it G-rated.
Yeah.
Uh, there's no point. Like you're trying to work with the sale agent to get a deal done. They're trying to get a deal done. They want a deal done. That's the sale agent's goal at the end of the day, is to get a deal done. A deal
Hmm.
done. And if they have to lean on a vendor to do that, or they have to lean on a purchaser to do that, they will do that. They want the deal done. We're here to make sure that the buyer gets a good deal. So, and again, it depends. If it goes to auction, you want to know what your increments are. Bidding under pressure is not easy. If you've never done it before, or you're feeling really nervous, to be putting your hand up in the right amount of bids at the right time, we see all sorts of funny things happen at auction. We've seen husband and wives bid against each other, not realizing that they're bidding against each other. We've seen people bid against themselves, like they don't realize the bid's on them, and then they
Uh,
put another 10,000 in. Some auctioneers will let you do that, and some auctioneers will let you know the bid's with you. That's okay. So you've got to really be cool, calm, and collected at an auction. Plan
right.
your body language, and just decide if you're going to open strong or wait and see what happens.
Hmm. So everyone's watching you at an auction, so body language and all of that. And yeah, don't bid against yourself would probably be the biggest tip.
That is a very good tip, not to bid against yourself or your partner.
If you do go, maybe have a bit of a, if you do go without a buyer's agent, maybe go in with a bit of a plan. So
Yeah.
potentially one of you bid, not both of you, and
Yes.
just give them the
Definitely talk
reins.
about your plan together. That's for sure. That is for sure.
Yep, I haven't
I guess
heard
I
about,
guess the
yeah.
key thing to remember is that sale agents negotiate daily. This is something that they're treating as a transaction when it's an emotional thing for you as a buyer. And if you're negotiating against a professional negotiator,
Hmm.
what do you do for a job? Are you a professional negotiator? Is this something that you do every day? Is this something you really want to trust your $900,000 to a negotiation skill that you don't have?
100%. And yeah, negotiating, and especially if it is 900, 500 to 900 to $1.5 million, yeah, that's a lot to negotiate, or a lot on that one transaction that you're going to have a nice mortgage to back and
Yeah.
pay off for a little while.
And an auction will start in usually $20,000 lots. You can get a good buyer's agent for that. That's just one bid too many that you've done, and you've paid for a buyer's agent.
Hmm. And then you see them all dwindle down to $100
Mm.
increments at the end, or $50 increments. I know someone that bought a house going up by a couple of bucks. So,
Yeah, we had one actually last weekend. We were bidding, and we had the father and daughter there, and we were up to whatever it was, 96, and he goes, just go to the 100. And I said, no, just hang on a minute. We were bidding in ones at that point. And we didn't have to go to the 100, and we got it at the 96. And I said to him, oh, you owe me $4,000. Thank you very much. I'll add it to the invoice.
there you go. So I guess the next loaded question that I had is, why are you better off having a buyer's agent or advocate help you out with the negotiation? I guess it's all in that, knowing your
All in.
strategy,
Yeah. Yeah.
knowing when to put your hand up and bid and all those types
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah. And I mean, for the one reason that I just said, the people that you're dealing with are experts at getting the most amount of money out of you. They're experts at negotiations. They're trained for this. They have training sessions every week in the top sale agencies to do the best out of whether it be the vendor or the buyer. That's what they're trained in. So do you want someone in your corner that's also trained like that?
Yep. They want to stick the nice big sold sign up on the board as much as you want to be the one doing that yourself.
Exactly. That's the best part of the job, Nick, is helping the purchaser put the sold sticker up at the end.
And then taking the selfie with them as well.
Exactly. Of course. Just check out our socials.
Love it. Well, thanks for giving us an insight into what you do and what buyer agents do. Is there anything that we did miss outside of the due diligence, the searching, and the negotiations that you help clients with?
I think we actually didn't probably touch on properties on market and off market. We
Yep.
have a very extensive network of agents that we connect with weekly to get any off market opportunities as well. Agents will tell us a lot more information because we're a business to business transaction. They won't tell the general person walking through the door as much information as they will tell us. And
Hmm.
again, because we've been in the Melbourne market for so long, we've got lots of connections with agents that, we've all grown up together in the industry. Now we've got our kids coming through in the industry, which is pretty cool to see. So it's that inside information is really handy when buying and also finding those off market properties as well.
So, in terms of off market, is that just a word of mouth that you get being in the industry for as long as you have been, or do people find them places, or it's just who you know at the time?
Yeah, look, it's a bit of all of that. Mostly it's agents knowing that we'll have a client that could match their brief. They
Hmm.
might go into a listing appointment and say to the client, look, just sign me with me for 2 weeks and I'll find you a buyer, and then they know that we've got a buyer already looking because we've reached out to them when we do have that specific buyer. They'll reach
Hmm.
out to us and say, hey, I've got this one for 2 weeks. Do you want to come and have a look? So before it even hits the internet, so we're not competing with the market, we can go and have a look and see if it's something that will match our clients' needs.
Hmm. And get the inside scoop before anyone else gets in.
Exactly.
Love it. No worries. Well, yeah, thanks for joining me today, Mel, and giving us an insight on what you do and how you can help, giving us a couple of tips when it comes to negotiation, especially hearing that story about people pitting against each other. Again, I can't believe it, but there you go.
It's a funny world out there. Thanks, Nick. I really appreciate the invite, and it's been a pleasure to be on board.
No, no worries. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of the Wealth Builder podcast. Thanks to Mel for joining me today to discuss how she helps clients. Go find her at Domain and Co. if you are in the space to purchase a property. Thanks everyone to listening along as well. If you like today's episode, feel free to drop us a message or share it to someone you might know who'll find our conversation valuable. As I said, if you do need any help or any questions, feel free to go to the guidance website and book in a meeting, or again, property stuff, go see Mel at Domain and Co. But I look forward to bringing you the next episode in a fortnight's time. Until then, have a great day.